Remember the good old days where if you wanted to trade in your Lancome Juicy Tube for a brand new, totally inventive apricot flavored lip lacquer, all you had to do was pull out that Nokia and use the T9 predictive text to ask your bestie what she was wearing last time you guys went to Blockbuster. Whew, I tried really hard to pack as many early 2000s references as I could into one sentence, and I think I did it. But for those of us who predate Instagram and YouTube by a good decade or so, that's just kind of how things were done. I mean, maybe there was a time or two that like Misha Barton, when she was on the cover of YM magazine, might have pointed you in the direction of something you'd like to try. But for the most part, beauty counters and drugstores were just these like lawless wastelands that we used to kind of trek out into and hope for the best. And you would go in there and just hope that that particular black eyeliner that you got, that you were going to rim your top and bottom waterline with. But only that. Just only black eyeliner all around the eye. You were just going to have to hope that that particular brand would last during your shift at Wet Seal. I am on a roll with these references right now. Now there are makeup reviews coming at you constantly. And most of us wouldn't dare picking up a new product if we didn't at least get one person's digital input on it. But who are we supposed to be listening to in the first place? Well, we're going to talk about it in today's video. Before we get started, check the down bar for links on my social media platforms. Subscribe if you are new here. You know you want to. If you're not new here, hey, what's up? How's your mom and them? Come hang on Patreon for bonus content and the book club. We are going to read The 12-Week Year. This is a book I have actually spoken about off and on for about 2 years because it's so life-changing and really reframes the way you look at your time and kind of what it takes to accomplish your goals. So there is a method to my madness. There's a system to all of this, and I can't wait to share everything with you. So if you are interested, links to all that stuff, again, down below. But yeah, let's just get started. So to make this video a little bit more concise and have some sort of pathway that I'm trying to take you down, I'm going to start off by answering some of the questions that I get asked all the time. And this could be either from people I know in real life, comments on my YouTubes, DMs, emails, one-on-one with people. I get these two questions the most. And the first question I get will be some form of, is it worth it? This whole concept of like, I'm looking to buy the Kat Von D Shade Light Contour Palette. Is it worth it? I want to pick up the Pat McGrath under eye setting powder. Is it worth it? And honestly, that is such an impossible question for me to answer. I don't know what other people say when they get asked this, but for me, it's almost like I could answer much more quickly and efficiently if you say, do I like it versus is it worth it? Because when it comes down to any particular beauty guru or review or whatever, you have to understand and take into consideration the person that you're asking. For me, so many things would go into that question. Like even when I am sharing a product review with you guys or talking about things that I like, there's a few things I ask myself, and that is kind of what ties into what makes it worth it to me, but I could never know if it's actually going to be worth it to you. So some of the questions that I ask myself are, does this product fit a need, and does it fit this need better than any other product I have ever tried? Is it the best version of this type of product I've ever used? And if not, why am I attracted to it so much right now? Is it the branding? Is it the fragrance the product has? Because Sol de Janeiro be getting my money all the time just because of how good it smells. Am I going through some kind of beauty phase and this product is just fitting that need for me right now, but maybe when I'm over this phase, I will be over the product? Is it something I'm using frequently? Have I repurchased it at least once? And do I love it just because it's new? Again, I think about this kind of stuff when I'm making product recommendations. I would imagine, depending on who you're getting your recommendations from, there might be a little more thought or less thought that goes into that. But I try to be aware of what is motivating me to love a product and to talk about it, because more than anything, like, I think my love for branding and marketing far extends my love for products. So sometimes I can be very aware I just like something for the simple fact that I'm very into this brand right now, and the product itself, if I had to answer honestly, might not be amazing to literally anybody but me. But yeah, it's such a personal thing. So, for example, I just bought the $400 Dyson hair dryer. And if someone came up to me and asked me if I thought it was worth it, I would feel so much pressure to answer that question in a way that would guide them to make a financial decision, a $400 financial decision, because for me, yeah, it's worth it, because I'm on this journey of like trying to learn how to care really well for my hair, because I'm trying to stay away from the very, very tempting world of hair extensions that I swore off 2 years ago. So things like hair dryers and nice shampoos and treatments, those are worth it to me right now. And it's not that money is no object, but that's just what's getting the bulk of my beauty budget currently. So for you to come to me and say, is it worth it? That is impossible for me to say. For me, yes. For you, $400 for a hair dryer might be absolutely the dumbest thing you've ever heard in your life. And I'm not going to lie, I would understand. Another popular comment or point of view that I hear surrounding beauty gurus and their reviews is that they change their opinions on products way too often. In fact, I got a comment about a month ago, 2 months ago, I can't really remember, where basically, like, long story short, I'm going to try to make this as concise as possible, but there's a point, I promise. In the span of one favorites video, I told you guys that I was going to exchange my previous hair favorite, which was the Olaplex system, and go back to Kerastase, which is my long-term favorite hair care product line. The reason that I gave was that Olaplex was breaking me out. It was giving me big, painful, cystic acne that was taking forever to go away. It was on my forehead and on my back. And the second I stopped using this stuff, it stopped breaking me out. So that's what it was, 100%. In that same review, I told you guys that I had a new favorite essence, and it was the Thyme Artemisa Mugwort Essence. When a year or so prior to that review, I said, I think this is breaking me out. I don't like it. So in the same favorites video, I said, this favorite is breaking me out. I don't like it anymore. And this previous unfavorite, in fact, was not breaking me out, and now I like it. It's a little confusing, and I could understand where this comment came from the perspective of like, get it together, Whitney. But the way that they said it to me, it really got me thinking, because they were basically like, I feel like I can't trust anything that you say. I can't listen to you anymore because everything you say, one time it breaks you out and then the next time it doesn't. Fair enough. Fair enough, girl. It was hard to contend with because my first thought was like, don't just buy anything I talk about anyway. Like, full stop, you guys. Do your own research. Figure it out. But you also have to understand that any given person that you're getting any review from, whether it's me or your best friend or your mom or a magazine or whatever, there are so many things that go into account of what makes a product work for them and what doesn't make it work for them, if that makes any sense. So I have received comments like that before where it was like, and I've said it before, this whole thing of like beauty gurus who do these monthly favorite videos every single month, and like every month it's a new ride or die. Please give me another expression to use besides that one because I hate it. Foundation. This is the best foundation I've ever used. And then next month, all over again, it's the best foundation they've ever used. And it can be confusing because I think you just get to a point where you're like, well, which one's the best? Like, help me out here, girl. And here's the truth of the matter. Beauty gurus are just getting paid to talk about product at the end of the day. I mean, there's a myriad other things that come into what they're getting paid for and what this job entails, but you're essentially talking about product recommendation regularly, and you are constantly trying new product. In fact, I've mentioned this in a video recently. I'm in a season of life right now where I've got so much PR coming in, particularly skincare PR. And it's like, I can't wait to give you guys reviews and talk about all this stuff. But skincare takes time to figure out how it works and does it work for you. And in my case, is it burgering me out? And which product is actually giving me this result? There's so many things in my routine and I'm overwhelmed at the idea of trying to give concise reviews for every single thing. So I don't know how these people who just constantly be busting out product reviews are even finding the time to try all of this stuff. But what I'm trying to illuminate for you is, and I've always said this, number one, a good review does not mean it's worth buying. It just doesn't. And I'll get into that more in a minute. But other than that, my personal preference is just never going to be the same as yours. And a lot of times when it comes to product, skin product in particular with me, what is going to determine if I like something 100 times out of 100 is, does it break me out? Because I don't care how glowy it makes most of my skin look. If it gives me a breakout, I don't like it. But at the same time, I acknowledge that it might not break you out. I really give that information out to people who feel like they've had similar sensitivities to me. So for example, if I told you Olaplex broke me out and you were like, oh my gosh, me too, I thought it was just me, then the next time I bring up another hair care product that I says breaks me out also, you might know to stay away from that as well because you might have a similar sensitivity to me. It's really the only reason I say it. If you don't have skin sensitivity issues and your skin's like a rhino hide and you can use anything and not have any problems, then hopefully my breakout stories go in one ear and out the other. But at the end of the day, what you guys have to understand is I try, and I know this is true for a lot of other beauty gurus, we try so much product. And after a while, I've said this for years, a lot of it kind of starts to be the same. I mean, something has to be really bad for me to just be like flat out, don't recommend, don't buy it. It would have to be like basically just garbage, like crumbled to pieces in my hands, bad, for me to call something unworthy of your dollar. But again, just because I say I like something because it is objectively not a bad product doesn't mean you should run out and spend your money on it. You should really be taking into consideration things like personal preference, which brings me to my next point, because personal preference at the end of the day accounts for every single thing any individual beauty guru you watch recommend. So there are universal products. I think all of us are kind of like, oh, this is objectively good because it fits in a basic need in our makeup routine. A good example of this, I think the Hourglass Veil translucent powder, I'm sure there's people who don't like it. I don't know of anyone that I remember when it first launched and since then coming out and saying they hate this stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's just certain solid products. I think the vast majority of us are kind of all on the same page about, but we're also different, and you just kind of have to find the ones that you can appreciate their point of view, and maybe you agree with them and maybe you don't. Here's a good example of what I mean. So I recently started watching a YouTube channel called The Punk MBA, and it's this guy who talks about music. It's mostly like rock, hardcore, punk, and metal. I love a lot of that music. I love learning about music, like scenes that happened throughout the decades, and he talks a lot about marketing and stuff like that too, which I also love. I love talking about that kind of stuff. So I love his channel. I think he's so entertaining, so informative. He's turned me on to so many new bands. But we have very different musical preferences in a lot of ways, in so many ways. In fact, one of the times I was watching one of his videos and he was talking about like bands that suck but get popular anyway. And he used Counting Crows as a reference for this. And some people might hate Counting Crows. It's fine. But August and Everything After is an album that reminds me of when I was a kid so much. Like my dad listened to that every day for like a year when I was like 9 or something. So I just love that album and I love that band. But that doesn't mean like he's a liar or he's wrong or I'm right or I'm wrong. We just have different preferences. And when you think about it, people get so bent out of shape about beauty reviews, or they used to, which I'll get into in a minute. And it's odd because we don't get that way about anything else. So for example, if the guy at the Punk Rock MBA, I can't remember his name, I'm so sorry, recommends a new band or a new album and I go listen to it and I get like upset with him and I'm like, you're a liar. This is actually trash. Like that makes about as much sense as it makes to assume that a beauty review or a makeup review is also ostensibly a lie because you don't agree with it. And that's why beauty reviews are so tricky. And it's like you don't really know what to believe, because I know that there's certain people who, when they recommend a product, like I'm not going to like it. So a good example of this is like James Charles. He has a very particular aesthetic, a very particular type of makeup he creates. When I think of James Charles, and I don't watch his videos, so I could be 1,000% wrong, but just the looks I've seen him create, I think of like pigmented, matte, bold colors, glitter, full coverage, chrome highlighter, just all of the things, which is fine. That's his gig. Go ahead. But it's not mine. So I would never go to one of his channels or go to his channel for beauty recommendations because I know I'm probably not going to like anything that he recommends. His personal preference and mine are so different. So I think that the solution here is you just have to find people who, like, 8 times out of 10, when they say they like something, you probably already like it too. So I have like a go-to list of people. Mine is Samantha Robindahl, Jamie Page, Alana Davidson, Brianna Stonko, Mel Thompson. They all gravitate to and tend to favor products that I like. So if I'm just in a makeup buying mood, that's who I'm going to go to for my beauty reviews, and I'm still not going to get upset with them if I don't like something they recommended, because personal preference is literally everything. So I just don't think we should live and die by what any particular guru says. So the other places you can get beauty reviews, if you're really just trying to figure out if you want to buy something or not, I used to really prefer for a long time going to the review section on any given beauty retailer. So I'd go to Sephora.com and I would read those reviews. And that would be what determined if I bought something or not. There's a few things you have to consider here. Number one, brands are now using something called Influencer to send product out to, I guess, regular people. And I just use that term insofar as, like, you're not a beauty guru. That's usually who gets free product. But I guess influencers are sending stuff out to everybody, which is great. But I don't want to go to the review section of Sephora and hear it from someone who didn't pay for it. Like, I'll go to a beauty guru if I want to hear someone who didn't pay for it tell me what they think about it. This is where I go to hear the people that shelled their hard-earned coin out. And I want to hear what they think about this. So you have to keep that in mind. Usually they will mention if they got it from influencer, but not always. Also, some companies are using comments to run, like, sweepstakes contests. Basically, submit a review, you get entered into this contest, which is fine. Also, I get it, companies need reviews, but reviews to me come from people who feel either so polarized, like so turned off by a product, or so turned on by it that it drives them to write a review. So I just want the real stuff from people. I do think people have to disclose if it was a contest entry some of the time, but not always, and I'm not sure. And on top of that, when you're looking at regular, everyday people reviews, you're going to see people who are just kind of like, I don't know, taking out their childhood trauma on the comment section of Sephora. I've seen it. People just getting so bent out of shape about a beauty product. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to listen to this person. Like, they sound a little unstable. Then you'll also have reviews, and I have seen this also, where people will 5-star a product before they even get it in the mail. Like, it'll be like 5 stars. Can't wait for it to arrive. And it's just very confusing. So I would recommend don't look at anything in the 5-star or the 1-star category. Unless it's overwhelmingly 1 star, then pay attention. I tend to hang out in the 3 stars. 3 to 4, mostly 3, because I feel like those are the people who are really giving the pros and the cons of the product. And that's what you should just be looking for anyway. Anytime a brand is too sensitive to feedback, where they're taking people off of PR lists or will not sponsor people if you say anything negative about them, I just think that's unrealistic and just frankly really stupid of them, because a smart consumer, the kind of customer that you want them to have reasonable expectations of what they're getting, because then if you've just built up this idea of unbelievable perfection, then you have to live up to it. You might get a lot more returns, or people just being like, this is crap, it doesn't do at all what I thought it was going to do. Like, you want some nuance in those reviews, and that's really what you should be looking for, in my opinion. Another great option is obviously the Instagram comment section of any given brand. So let's say you wanted to check out the reviews for a new Huda Beauty product. You can check there. Beware, sometimes they do remove negative comments. You can kind of figure it out pretty quickly if they're doing that, if it's nothing but glowing, obsessed reviews constantly. So the truth of the matter is, I know that in the day of the beauty guru and stuff like that, we thought it was going to make this easier. But the truth is, like, reviews are hard to trust, and that's okay. Honestly, I think that we need to get to the point where we can kind of have a sense of humor about this. And I feel like we're getting closer to that, I think. I don't know. I tell you guys all the time I don't watch beauty content, and I friggin' mean it. So I don't know. Maybe people are still out there getting just as angry as they always did over an eyeshadow palette not being what they thought it was gonna be, and just, you know, Twitter wars and all that stuff. I'd like to think we're past that point. In fact, I kind of want to do a video about the fever pitch of that time point, just like the vitriol of the beauty community circa 2 years ago. Let me know if you guys want to see it. But yeah, I think really what needs to happen and what I think will make life easier for everyone who feels conflicted by beauty reviews is like, take a little responsibility and accountability for the fact that this is your money and this is your choice. No one is making you buy this stuff. And you really just need to use your common sense and trust your instincts, you know? If you've been burned by an influencer's recommendations 3 times, I don't really think you should be getting so cheesed off the 4th time they screw you over too. Like, just kind of use your common sense. I know that sounds really patronizing and almost like victim blaming, I guess, as far as this is concerned, but companies and people in general will try to take your money always on the internet. So you're going to have to practice a little bit of media literacy as it pertains to the ads and things like that you're exposing yourself to. And that's ultimately kind of what the beauty community is. It's like a great big ad that's really fun to hang out in, and it should be fun. This should be play. It shouldn't be that serious. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, thank you to the patrons. This was running around in my head for weeks after I got that comment. It's funny how your comments can just really take you down a train of thought and really get the old noodle running around a topic that you just really hadn't considered in a while, and just kind of the odd nature of makeup reviews in general and how some people have just like made a career off of doing this. It's so fascinating that we are that fixated on what other people think about our products. So I just really wanted this video to give you guys a food for thought and help you make better decisions moving forward with your beauty dollars. So I hope you guys are having an amazing day. Check the down bar for links on my social media platforms, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.